Perhaps it all started when you joined one of the roughly 71 million people per year that visit Italy. You were one of about 7 million American tourists, and the wheels started turning in your head. You say to yourself, I think I would like to live here. You speak with your spouse, and you begin to dream the dream. You start to research the 20 regions of Italy and look at places that might fit you the best. You make multiple trips and visit several regions before falling in love with the one that cries out to you. Your dreams slowly start becoming reality. You have in-depth discussions and do research about what type of visa you need, what type of health insurance you will need, and because your focus is on getting a house, you discuss the pros and cons of renting versus buying. You have deep discussions with your spouse about what you both want and need in a home. You visit your local Italian embassy and begin the process of getting your visa. You contact several different insurance providers and find a plan that suits you and your spouse best. You begin to scroll through the listings on idealista.it, and the dream to move continues building steam. On your final trip to Italy as a tourist, something you don't realize in that moment, you and your spouse stumble upon an amazing old farmhouse that is for sale. It needs a little work, but the price is reasonable and in your budget. You contact a lawyer who writes an offer, and the nail-biting begins. After some back-and-forth negotiation, you come to an agreement, and the house is yours. Dreams have become reality, and you join the roughly 16,000 other Americans who call Italy home. Moving day is exciting but draining. You've come so far and done so many things over the past few years to bring this day into fruition. You were approved for a visa, and you can pick up your Permesso di Soggiorno in a few months. Your health insurance is in effect, and you've spoken with an insurance broker about getting coverage for your home. Life is definitely looking up. You head to your local comune and register as a resident. You are so excited about this, you fail to realize that this has started a very important countdown. In all of your research, you skipped over or minimized the part about needing an Italian driver's license. But now that countdown is on, and you have 1 year to get this task taken care of. Perhaps you say to yourself, I'll be okay without it. I can just renew my international driver's license. But the reality is that you must have a valid Italian driver's license. The fine for driving without one can go as high as 9,296 euros. Now, typically fines are a few hundred to several hundred euros, but it can be nearly 5 figures. In addition, if you get into an accident, the insurance will not cover you if you do not have a valid license. So now what? Some people think that because they're fluent in Italian, that getting the test will be a breeze. Guess what? Only 22.7% of Italians pass the theory exam. So say what? Now, stack on the fact that maybe you aren't as fluent as you think, so you're going to need to study hard. In addition, you need to enroll in a local autoscuola to get the process started. You need to have a medical fitness certificate from your doctor. We're going to talk about more about this in a moment. You have to pass an eye exam. You have to pass the theory exam, which means 27 out of 30 true-false questions taken from a pool of over 7,000 questions, and complete 6 driving lessons before you can even take the final driving test. If you pass, you'll be designated as a neopatentato driver for 3 years. This classification holds a great deal of restriction. What are the restrictions? You're limited to a car with no more than 55 kilowatt hours of power, so about 74 horsepower. You're limited to going no faster than 100 kilometers per hour on the autostrada, it's about 65 miles an hour, and 90 kilometers an hour on extra urban highways, it's 55 miles an hour. You cannot have a blood alcohol content of anything. It has to be 0. This means that you have to be careful of the vehicle you buy. Most likely going to be a Panda or something similar, a tiny car. You also pay a higher premium on your car insurance, but you'll be paying a bunch anyway if you have no driving history in Italy. If you have medical issues, you'll need to see any number of specialists and get clearance from each of them. For example, I have type 2 diabetes. It's well managed and has not been an issue since moving here. However, I must see an eye doctor, a diabetes specialist, not simply an endocrinologist, a cardiologist, a neurologist, I don't know why, and have a battery of blood work done before I can get a medical certificate that will allow me to even start the testing process. If you have a seizure disorder, a history of TBI, heart disease, or other serious medical conditions, you'll likely be in the same boat. Getting a license is not cheap when you calculate all the cost. I hired a private tutor to help me be able to pass the theory. The lessons are in Italian, and she makes sure that I can read and understand the questions in Italian, not simply translate it. I will spend around 600 euros on these lessons. The Autoscuola near me charges 650 euros for the basic package, the theory exam, and the required 6 driving lessons. 950 if they provide that and the eye exam and complete the necessary paperwork. To get everything done before my year runs out, I must see private doctors. Specialists here are affordable but still not cheap. I expect to pay between 85 euros and 100 euros for each visit, so around another 400 euros. I will have nearly 2,000 euros in getting the license, and that is assuming I can pass it the first time. Each theory exam is 100 euros and you can only take it once a month. What would I have done differently? I would have started studying for the theory exam as soon as I moved here. A year goes by so fast, and it can take months sometimes to get things in order. The theory exam is tough. There are many double negatives and trick questions. The exam is not offered in English, and you cannot have any devices on you when you sit for the exam. The exam is offered in French and or German if you live in one of those regions where one of those languages is recognized as an official language there. I found the most difficult thing for me is the use of varying words and spelling of words. For example, one question might use the word dove, and another might use the spelling ove. The question might use the word tranviario and lead you to believe that it's asking about a train crossing, but it's not. There are 7,165 test questions and really no way to know them all by heart unless you are blessed or cursed with a photographic memory. So my advice, get a copy of the book I Quiz dell'esame per la patente di guida from Antonio Messina. He was the guy who wrote the questions for the country, so he knows them all, right? As well as get a copy of the CIDA, Manual della Patente AIB. This is the book you get from the auto school, and it's in Italian, but it's going to tell you about all the signs and all the stuff that you think you might know that I assure you you do not know unless you live here and you have read these books, because things are different on the road here than they are in the United States, for sure. All right, one last thing. The driving exam is given in a stick-shift vehicle. All right. Finding examiners who allow you to take in an automatic is tough. If you do find one, the license will be restricted to where you can only drive automatics. And you're like, well, that's not a big deal. But it could be an issue in a country where the stick shift reigns supreme. So grab the books, hire a tutor, and get to studying.